Look, we have been talking about, the global issue here as well as the local issue. We're lucky in the sense that we have Fika with us. I mean, Fika Taillon is from Canada, and she joined our webinar a couple of months ago, and she is very concerned about making sure that what we do locally is seen in a global context in the work she does. So, Fika, thank you for joining us. And maybe I could start by asking you, and then we'll open this up to questions as well. You do believe, don't you, very strongly that what we do locally must be seen as part of a global issue, because if we don't, we can't effectively address climate change. Is that right?
That's correct. Thank you for having me here, Francis. And thank you for having this platform, this open platform to actually share thoughts, concerns, ideas from um, really every corner of the world. I found that to be quite important because, again, we usually, when we talk about life, we talk about the circle of life or the cycle of life. And there's always this connectivity when we talk about life itself. Um, Having been born in Afghanistan, having lived in a few countries around the world until I arrived to Canada a couple decades ago, um, has taught me quite a few important lessons. And some of those lessons are the interconnectivity between humans and our lives. Whatever this life contains, whether it's the happiness and joy or it's the disasters and everything that comes with that. So I definitely do believe that paying attention to local issues that come from climate change are extremely important, finding the root causes, um, looking at vulnerable people within our communities and our societies in every way. But also it's important to understand that as the first world, as we really contribute so very much to this world progress with achievements, with productivity and everything, we also contribute to the side effects of that. So climate change and all that, with the greenhouse emission, for example, which would cause a lot of natural disasters or rises of natural disasters, which in turn would have other consequences.
I mean, you say you're in Canada, but you came from Afghanistan, and a couple of months ago you mentioned that in Afghanistan, in Kabul, it might be the first city in the world to run out of water. And is that an example, for example, how the global and the local interact? Because when people run out of water, when a country runs out of water, then it can cause war, it could cause conflict. So we have to see a local crisis often in its global repercussions.
Absolutely. We all human beings at one point or another, we fight over resources, and some of those very basic and important resources are water and food. And of course, when we look at very vulnerable countries such as Afghanistan, we'll see that with war having taken over the country for about 5 decades, and again, Afghanistan is not the only one. However, it is one of the most vulnerable countries in 2025. Um, People deal with the consequences of climate change. For example, as I mentioned, the natural disasters. We hear quite often about Afghanistan flooding. We hear about the earthquake. There was just a month ago, there was an earthquake in Afghanistan that took the lives of about 2,000 people, which if we put it in the first world context, it doesn't seem like a huge number, but putting that in a country that is already impoverished, there is there's lack of water, lack of food, lack of land to grow food and all that, then we face a different disaster. And if we don't address those disasters, then we will face the other consequences that would follow. For example, again, fighting for life is what we all do, regardless of our background. We all want to survive, and we all want to survive well. So then we will have waves of immigration. With immigration, we will have disruptions in the host countries as well as in the countries that people live. With that will come into place a lot of humanitarian issues, moral issues, growth in resentment with differences between people, growth in, and again, we all have, we have everywhere we go, we have merchants of ideas. So there would definitely be very fundamental consequences that we would have to address.
You sort of set your mind to look at how
Mm.
we can deal with this, haven't you, in your small way, like we do everything in our small way.
Right.
We're not going to be able to solve the problem totally, but we do what we
Absolutely.
can. And you've set up an organization, haven't you, called Minds and Hearts Without Borders to promote this local global relationship. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. I founded Minds and Hearts Without Borders International about 6 years ago, and that was just the continuous of the work that I used to do, which again is based on bringing people together from all different corners of the world, because we all have different perspective when it comes to life, and we all have different views based on our geographical places, experiences with life, and all that. Um, I find it to be quite important to actually have a better view of our world if we want to tackle the issues that we want to tackle in better ways. One of my friends here mentioned the morality of everything, and I find that bringing people together would actually bring us closer uh, to talk about these technical issues from a human perspective. So understanding the sufferings that humans in every corner of the world go through, how much responsibility we have in creating that, and what we can do and actually make the world a better place. With that being said, that's not only humans, but we also need to consider the lives of animals, wildlife. Mostly in impoverished countries, we're losing animals, we're losing a species much more than we should. And that is a disaster that I don't see being much talked about. So wars, natural disasters, and all that really affect the wildlife in many, many different ways.
Okay, so Asani, can you mute yourself, please, because you keep coming online? Um, okay, so is it important then for any organization doing something locally, like ourselves, for example, to always have in mind the global perspective when we're discussing what we do locally? Because without seeing the bigger picture, we may not be as effective as we really would like to be.
Absolutely. The way I see it myself personally, I believe that compassion is the smart and intelligent way of living. Because again, one of the purposes you asked about the group is to actually open the doors into seeing one another as human beings and seeing the intelligence and being compassionate towards one another. If I have a loaf of bread today, you don't, I can share that loaf of bread with you. Tomorrow, you may run out of bread and you might share your loaf of bread with me, and therefore we would both win. So the whole idea is, do we want as human beings to live with cooperation, or do we want to always be on competition? We have much to lose as human species. We have much to lose if we always live with the competitive mind. So yes, absolutely, it is important for us to come together and understand each other as human beings. Uh, every one of us is important to this life. Every area of this earth is important for the well-being of every one of us globally.